So Pixel Up started off as a small idea, which was around closing the gap of knowledge between people who design in South Africa and people who are doing design around the rest of the world. We wanted to bring some folks who are doing things at the bleeding edge for great companies to bring them over here and maybe share some ideas with us. Sent out a few emails and got some answers, which was unexpected. And then, we got some support from our friends in terms of being able to put the event together. We've managed to sell out, which is fantastic for a first time round. And from the few chats that I've had, I think what we were hoping to achieve, which is to maybe show a different side of design in a bit more detail. Not just looking at the app, but talking to the guy who designed the app. I think we're having that kind of impact. And so we're really happy with where we've got to.
I've been working with designers for probably the last 8 years, and from my experience, the industry has not moved significantly forward in that period, and is focused on a very narrow aspect of what design can bring to the party. So I don't think, in a very summarized version, that design has really taken its place at the table from a strategic perspective and from a business perspective, and I think it's kind of stuck in a wireframing and prototyping mode. So from my perspective, it can add a lot more business value. The designers need to learn to engage more broadly with business, and to understand some of those drivers that sit behind it, and then obviously be able to articulate the value proposition, and to actually measure the value and iterate. So my challenge by stating that design in South Africa is broken is really to say, what do we need to do differently to elevate design to the point where it should be and where it can add proper value into the corporate. For design to add value from a strategic perspective, it needs to bring aspects to the table that other areas and other departments aren't bringing to the table. I think designers inherently have a better understanding of customer, and in many instances they're a lot closer to the trends that are changing human behavior. So bringing items around social media, the fact that the community is moving away from asset-based consumption to usage consumption, and actually helping interpret what that means for the business, how the business model needs to change, and then iterating that through the design process, I think can open the door to the C-suite and really get them adding value at a level that I don't think they're able to right now.
There is a situation where in South Africa we have no way of starting people in design from a young age, shall I say. So you can't go to, after high school, you can't go to a full-time course in South Africa at this point, unless I'm mistaken, where you can actually study this and get a design degree or go in even further. I've got a couple of friends who've got PhDs, but they have to go the IT route and then specialize in the design stuff as opposed to saying going pure design. So we've got that challenge there. We don't have people who've got 30, 40 years experience in design who are able to teach or who are able to mentor, people to come up. So I think that's part of the challenge. On the other side of it, from a demand perspective, I think organizations are, to an extent, starting to understand what it means to work with designers at a strategic level, but it's a very small extent, and so sometimes it's only the surface stuff that gets chased, and they will look at something like an Apple and go, well, it's all about design, it's about how it looks, but actually it's about approaching a problem at a strategic level using design skills, and then trying to find a solution from that viewpoint that actually makes a difference. And I think organizations here are starting to understand that, and they're going, well, if this is the skill set that is allowing this differentiation to happen, it's allowing Elon Musk to kind of make the kind of products that he's making, which I've heard someone term it, it's kind of an iPod with wheels, in terms of the twist. It's not about the moving the car, but it's more about the technical stuff and the design stuff behind it. So those are the things that we are seeing, and I think those are, you've got a lot of demand that's coming up, and you've got a challenge in your supply area, and that's probably why there's so much conversation around UX design. Where do we get them? How do we get more of them?
Yeah, so from my perspective, I think quite critical to solving the problem is actually just working out what is real design skill and what can be outsourced into more generic skill sets. I think that the design community is very is very tight on what they believe design is, and some of that needs to be let go of. We don't have time to wait for academia. For that academic process and to start picking people up at the right age and the right level, you're talking 7-8 years before you start even getting proper input, and by then the world has changed. So the challenge is, how do we deal with it right now? And I think we've got enough critical design skill to start working at the strategic level. The question is, how do you then take the less specific parts of the skill set and broaden that into analyst communities and various others to allow for scaling rapidly.
If I may, I might also say that the lack of maturity, so the idea that we don't have an industry that's old and grown in doing this, means that there might not even be an understanding of what those other aspects are. So the stuff that people see typically is, if you look at a JD or a job description, it'll say, we need a UX person and they need to be able to use these bits of software. And so it's only causing people to go and learn how to use those bits of software so that they can apply for those jobs. And there isn't something that's actually saying, well, the gamut of design work spans a much broader kind of spectrum. And how do we start to get skills in those areas, and how do we start to get experience in those areas, and how do businesses start asking for services, in those areas that will create some more demand that is a bit broader. And I think that's part of what you were discussing in your talk, which is to say that wireframing prototyping thing appears to be the be all and end all, when actually it's not.
It's just the entrance.
Yeah. With Pixel Up, our reason for existing is that we want to improve how people in Africa think about and make digital products. With our first event, our aim was not to have people walk away having gained deep knowledge of how to do a whole bunch of stuff. But more what we're looking at is to say, how do we start to create some tension and to show people the other conversations that are happening around the world around design? What does a designer who's worked at Apple, who's worked at Facebook, who's worked at Twitter, who's been doing this for 20 years, what is their viewpoint on what design actually means and what it should be? And I think we've had some of that today, where folks have been coming up and saying, I didn't have that view of what my work can mean, and I think that was our main goal, is to maybe just rock the boat a little bit. And then I think as we go along, as we grow up, my hope is that we will be able to attract more, and we have had a fair few corporates come through. And we want to grow that, and we want to extend the conversation beyond the conference. We want to run meetups, and our meetups are not design meetups. Our meetups are about bringing the three elements together that are core to digital, which is your business, your technology, and your design. And when all of those folks can sit at the same table and look at the same problems or share each other's challenges, we think that that's the kind of thing that would benefit the community in a more sustainable way. That's what Pixel Up is largely about.